All right! Hello and welcome to the world of Ninestone with a brand new campaign. Can I get a hello from all of our players? Hello! Hello! This is session 1 of a brand new 6-session art campaign, which we are going to call Operation Bloodstone, a thriller, subterfuge, political intrigue tale of 5 soldiers who discover some very deeply held secrets and how they hope to overthrow or sabotage the Ruby Empire's efforts from within. Or will they be caught in the act of trying and killed for treason? That's really the mission that we're going to explore in this exciting tale of intrigue and political woes. But before we get started, I want to bring everyone into the world of Chrysalis and help people bring themselves up to speed. On screen right now, you see the world map of Chrysalis. So, for those who don't know the world, here's a brief explanation, and then we will drill down into one of these 8 regions. The world of Chrysalis is broken up into 8 regions, each of which represent a large deposit of a particular type of gemstone. Because in this world, 8 gemstones map onto the 8 schools of magic. Imagine diamonds of divination up in the glacial Arctic ridges, or in the mountains of the Amethyst Kingdom, stones of abjuration. What about sapphires, which are the stones of evocation, topaz for transmutation with tribes on the western coast, and more, going all the way through each of these regions. But today, we are going to drop ourselves directly down into the dusty, arid, dry, hot, red, rocky desert of the Ruby Empire. Here, a coalition of militant forces so well trained, so well organized, and so loyal to their cause are preparing for the incredible battle that is up ahead. But let's take a moment to ask ourselves a few important questions. What really are memories? And what, if we can even tell, is the truth? This is a story about truth, lies, and the memories that bind them together. Like a song that is written, in which each player can choose whichever notes they wish to play. And only when those notes run in discord to the rest of the track do they begin to discover that they might be out of line. Today we're going to explore the minds of 5 seemingly unworthy, unnotable, non-heroic soldiers in the Ruby Empire who discover something very different about themselves one fateful day. But before we even do that, let's take ourselves into the Ruby Empire in a coastal encampment city called Balavda. B-A-L-A-V-D-A. Balavda is one of the frontal forces of this Ruby Empire that is responsible for curtailing and holding their forces as they prepare for a launched assault against the Amethyst Kingdom. You see, Empress Felgradia herself has long held that it was the right and the domain of the Ruby Empire to take control of the central regions of Chrysalis, occupying both sides of the river and increasing their influence for many reasons, much of which have to do with order and peace, bringing prosperity to the lands of the Amethyst Kingdom, the Emerald Egalitary, those rugged Black Jade Lords, and the rest of the lot. But we can't do that if the stubborn and fearful King Aderon is continuously pushing back the Ruby forces at play. Here, on the forces in Balavda, in an encampment many battalions wide, we find ourselves on the eve before battle. It is 9:10 p.m. The sun has long since set over these watery terrain, and just across in the distance, only about a mile away across the wide body of river, in the city of Carapace, you hear the clanging of armorers, soldiers, or siege machines busy at work preparing for what they know will be a brutal, full-on assault. 2 forces standing, staring in this quiet standoff, with naught but the steel sounds of work being done on both sides. But in the Ruby Empire, it's a little bit more quiet. You see, these Ruby Empire soldiers have a little something up their sleeve. Now let's take down into the encampment, which I will bring up on screen right now.
Nice.
you would see very extremely ordered tents of military encampments, roughly 50 tents wide, housing what must be at least 2,000 troops, each of which flies the banner of the Ruby Empire.
Mitchell, can you stand slightly closer to Mitchell?
The river, flying in this rugged terrain, mirrors the crimson hues of dusk, while the plateau stands as an unyielding guardian, its scarlet cliffs towering over the tents and the banners below. This is a bastion and the last stand for the Ruby Empire as they prepare, and it is the strict and solemn call to arms for all of the troops before an important battle to gather at the site right before it is a solemn call for all the troops right before battle to gather together to hear the leader herself speak. And that's where we're going to take ourselves right now. So the 5 of you are gathered under your respective and generals. Most of you report to the same captain. You'll meet more of them in a second. But as you gather together, you see a few things that catch your eye. The first is that as the banners are held in rigid position, there are traditional troops, traditional cavalry units, but then 2 advanced, what are called vanguard battalions. These troops are extremely well-trained groups of 8 to 12 elite cavalry units that ride conjurations of supreme strength. These can be rhinoceroses, they can be nasty, devouring atyugs, or, in this case, they can be manticores and Komodo-like beasts. They stand to the side with their beasts beside them, perfectly ready, in tune and listening for the Empress herself when she begins to speak. We now take ourselves to the encampment as the troops gather, you see the 3rd of the vanguards that will be aiding this frontal assault. It is, of course, the Dragons Battalion. As you hear, the roaring of dragons yields as a few of them begin to press down at the forefront of the army's troops. And at the helm, leading them all, and standing beside her dragon prepared to speak to the rest of you, is Empress Velgradia herself. To describe what she looks like to an audio listener, as she steps off of one of these magnificent dragons, this is a relatively young empress, roughly 30 to 35 years old. She has long, well-kept platinum white and silver hair. She has a fair, light-skinned complexion. And she wears a mixture of an ornate white tunic that flows behind her and black steel for both her breastplate, greaves, and her shoulder pads. As this armored empress stands before you, deftly stepping off of her dragon, prepares herself to rally her troops. There's a hushed stillness, even among the beasts themselves, manticores, lizards, and dragons, to speak. She says, sleeping. Soldiers of the Ruby Empire! To which all of you immediately salute at attention. Tonight marks an important night, for tomorrow might be one of the most important battles of all of your collective lives. Here represents the ultimate opportunity to find ourselves leveraging this fight against King Adoran himself, the fool, the charlatan, a fearful lord who chooses not but to wall up his forces behind a kingdom of lies, subjugating the people to inscrutable acts of terror. It is time for us to take back a land that he has been swallowing in his pride and in their own misery for decades. At this, you hear all the generals, as if they were cued to do so, say, "Aye, General!" Can I hear that from all of you?
Aye, General!
She continues, without missing a beat. Tomorrow will become an important opportunity in leveraging a frontal assault on the Carapace city on the river. The moment that we take property of one of the most important research facilities for the kingdom's military forces, we will our military strength. Or, more notably, we will find ourselves with new opportunities to spread northward and eastward into Amethyst Kingdom territory. Stay true to your assignments, listen to your generals, and above all, may Tempest provide us the courage to move forth, the bravery to never waver, and the determination and discipline to maintain ourselves as one united front. Her voice softens a bit, but it still has a projection that carries among the very still breeze. I will be praying that each of you return in one piece. Or that if you do not, you will leave behind a legacy and be celebrated for years to come. Get your rest. You are dismissed. To which everyone says,
Aye, General!
now you're getting the assignment. And all of you immediately break file and begin sifting back one by one in orderly fashion to your tents. As each of you are preparing to get ready for tonight's rest, I think we're actually going to step into each of your tents individually and get a little look at what everyone is doing on the night before a battle where they may lose their life or may make one step forward into the glorious domain and furthering of the Empress herself. So, in the spirit of D&D and with the first roll at the table and for the campaign, we're going to do this completely randomly. Each of you are in tents with at least 50 units each, but we'll say randomly some of you are in the same tents, but you are not necessarily next to one another. You happen to be in the same general troops. So I will roll a d6 first and we'll see what happens. That is going to be Rachel. Rachel, as you're preparing to get a good night's rest for tomorrow's assault, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your character. What are you doing tonight? Is there, yeah, actually, we'll just start there. Tell us, describe your character for us.
So, in my tent, I am sitting on my bedroll. I've got about a 2-month supply of fish jerky next to me. I'm just chawing down. As you look at me, you are reminded of Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda, except way younger. Because I'm Turtle.
Turtle.
You're a turtle?
Turtle.
Yeah, a turtle.
turtle is
like
a race.
humanoid turtle.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Master Oogway.
Actually,
young.
Master Oogway.
Yeah.
How do you spell it? Looking out.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So,
I didn't know that was a thing.
I'm sitting on my bedroll because it's comfier, but I actually sleep in it because I sleep in my shell because of course. I'm chowing down on my fish jerky. It helps me just regulate my sleep cycles a little bit better. And as I chow on my fish jerky, I pat my buddy who's curled up in a little ball next to me, my trusty wolf Pilo, who is totally asleep. Doesn't care at all about what's happened.
Yep.
Hanging out.
Tell me, what does Pilo look like? What's Pilo's like coat color or what's her gender?
Pilo is looks like a very threatening wolf, but is named Pilo for a good reason. So a little bit of a cuddlebug. Think bird in personality, except a little bit more aggressive on the whole first meeting thing. And then coat-wise, we are just solid black. Inky black.
Inky black. Okay, so Pilo, spelled Pilo, is the name of your companion.
Yep.
As you prepare to sleep, you notice something interesting with Pilo's behavior. Why don't you give me an animal handling check, and we'll see if you can make sense of what's going on with Pilo.
Oh crap! There's cords. Andy, can you pass me my tiny die that got
Maybe
stuck?
roll here.
Yeah, I'll just
So it's-
not do that.
It's easier to reach.
D20.
That is a 14.
Okay, so you see that Pilo's leg is twitching in place as Pilo sleeps. Pilo, what?
She.
Okay. She seems to be excited about something, eager, but with a 14, I'll say that you can tell that there's something that is occupying her mind that isn't necessarily pleasant to her. It's something that's disturbing her while she sleeps. It's getting her a little excited. You could investigate further what this is really doing to her, but really with the 14, what I would say is you get the sense that she has, there's just something that's agitating her, and she's trying to handle it, whatever it is in her dream.
Okay.
And do you have, is your special item, so the Ruby Empire its units, especially when they're traveling for war, to take one unique item, personal item to them for them. Was it your jerky that you took with you? Yes.
It's my jerky.
I think there was so much that you needed to take that it had to cut. It wasn't just rations; it had to be considered your personal item.
Yep. It's a lot of jerky.
Where did you get this jerky?
I made it myself.
Oh, okay. So we have some experience in the realm of this. So. And I don't know if you had even said your name. What is your name?
My name is Napin Kurg.
Napin Kurg. The turtle with some jerky, hanging out with Pillow as you get ready for sleep. So we're going to say that you do that. Is there anything else before going to sleep?
Nope, I just kind of shoot myself into my shell.
So laying on one of the bunks that is clearly, or the bed rolls truly, that is like prepared for you. You say, nope, I don't need it. And you just straight into your shell and you begin to sleep. I want you to go ahead and give me a wisdom saving throw. And we're going to see what's going on as you're preparing for a really important battle ahead.
That's going to be just a 21.
Just 21! So, something happens while you're asleep. As you're preparing for the battle ahead, as I'm going to bring this back up here, let's do that. Great. You begin to see something, a vision. Whether it's a dream or a nightmare is ultimately up to you, but you see this. A crack of lightning, waves on a stormy seafront that are capsizing over and over, creating a splash of large white rapids. And along the backdrop, as lightning strikes and creates a flash of lights, silhouetted against the waves themselves, you see the outline of the silhouette of a dragon appear in front of you as it's clearly flying overhead, behind you, or in front of you, in between you and the waves. Too dark for you to make out where it's coming from or where it is going. You see that there are ships of different sizes, one by one, getting larger and larger and larger, each sailing from the left side of your view to the right. But every time they cross this shadow that is cast on the waves, a bolt of lightning strikes, the shadow of vision of a dragon shows, and a wave capsizes the boat entirely. You see small crew members on these ships falling overboard, desperately clamoring to try to climb back up onto their ship to right it. But the larger the ships get, they are able to do so. Small ship, easily righted. 2 men in a rowboat continue on. Large, but they make it back. Then the larger it gets, the more difficult they are to salvage what remains of their ships, and they eventually sink under the waves. You awake the next morning very early at the crack of dawn as a result of the bugles trilling with your own sweat, whatever turtles sweat. You tell me how turtles sweat. But this dream sequence seems to have...
myself. It's just like around the shell.
Okay, got it. It's just like a little dew around the shell. But you are clearly disconcerted by this. With a 21, I was willing to give you all of that information that you saw and can give you even one more clue as to what this means. You see, on the very last ship, that they brought smaller lifeboats. And on the side of this large ship, you see the emblazoned image of a chariot. So, with a chariot as an icon on it. As soon as they begin to capsize, they drop their 4 lifeboats and each abandoned ship, jumping into the smaller ones, and immediately find themselves much safer than if they tried to salvage the ship alone. As if the pride of riding the larger vehicle was ultimately going to be their downfall. You awake from your dream the next day. Meanwhile, let's tiptoe out of Napir's tent to one of the other tents and see what's going on with one of our other players. To Annie's character. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what your character looks like and what you're doing with your personal item as you prepare for battle.
Hi, I am a golden dragonborn, so I'm very tall and buff, but still feminine. And so
Tall about feminine, got it.
Yeah, my features are like pretty. I'm a pretty dragonborn. But I am sharpening every tiny little spike on my mace with my various blacksmithing tools. And Also, my name is Chabatha.
Chabatha. Can you spell that for us?
Yes, Ciababha.
Okay.
Delicious.
Italian dragon.
So you find yourself sharpening your mace and preparing for combat. Why don't you just go ahead and do a generic sleight of hand check, adding your proficiency modifier on top of that as your experience in blacksmithing serves.
I got 10.
So you find yourself maybe a little out of sorts. Your mental framework not exactly keeping you it focused on the task at hand. You get the sense that this is going to be your first time actually fighting in front of some of these glorious dragons that are actually at the beck and call of Empress Belgradia. And given your lineage, where your dragon-born blood comes from, it is possible that you're a little intimidated by preparing for combat. You recognize and remember just a few months ago when you graduated from the Academy for incoming military units, like the private like yourself, and you realize that with your first real fight ahead of you, you haven't necessarily proven your worth in combat yet. As you sit there, another private comes over and is looking at you sharpening your mace. He's also preparing for bed as she is preparing her clothing and getting everything neatly packed up for inspection in the morning. She says,
A lore question.
yeah, a lore question.
The mounts are conjured, but not the dragons. Dragons are just real, intelligent dragons.
That's a great question. The dragons are
Full-on.
real.
Okay, full-on dragons.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep, they're
I mean, I'm kind of nervous, but there's no backing out now, so we just got to do our best.
you see that she, this is just a dwarven soldier who is, frankly, wearing the same clothing as you, albeit very differently sized. She gestures in your direction and says, hey, I was having some problems with the weighting of my sword. Do you mind taking a look at it real fast? And she holds a short sword in front of you. Assuming, you get the sense that intuition with the handling and smithing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just take it from her and I start inspecting it.
Yeah, so why don't you give me an investigate check once again with your proficiency modifier.
That is... Wait. Oh, okay. Investigation, it's an 11.
Cool. With an 11, you get the sense that because it's been used quite a lot in sparring and in practice rounds, that the actual hilt is becoming slightly lodged at the base, and you could try to fix it, but you don't have a clear picture of how to do so. To do so risks possibly making the sword worse, based on your assessment of it.
Okay.
So what do you do?
A 13.
13 is enough. He is not stealthy. In fact, he's a pretty hard person to miss. This is the tall, lumbering, broad-shouldered, hard-to-miss Devere of the one General Commander Tarkus. So, Tarkus is also a dwarf. Is taller than most dwarves, but carries the same rugged, strong, heavy demeanor and a gait that feels stocky as he struts with his leather boots along the floor. He, unlike the rest of your entire troop, is fully dressed. He is doing what you would know from having under him for a long time, is the typical rounds to basically ensure that everyone is indeed tidying up and getting ready to get meaningful rest. He is always the last of your group. He is the first, but he is a stern, no-nonsense kind of commander. You hear his footsteps.
So I'm gonna take, and we're in a tent, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just kind of like toss it, like the bed,
Yeah.
and then quickly get up. I grab the apron and the chainmail that's laying on the bed. Begin to fold quickly, sort of looking nervously over my shoulder.
Yes, perfect. So as he walks up, I will say, Commander Tarkus is familiar with the degree to which Lamy has not always kept great regimen, whether that is the timing of his sleep, possibly staying up doing something, or maybe with the way that his uniform looks when he reports for inspection in the mornings. But Commander Tarkus, nonetheless, might have maybe an extra eye on you as he's walking along these corridors. He notes that one person is getting ready. He's like, okay, good. Yes. Good night. Yes. Get rest. And then he finally reaches you. You see him coming. You throw the book on your shoulder. Good effort. Let's see if he even notices that as you rush up. He walks up to you. His stern, steely gaze, black eyes look directly to you as though he's trying to inspect your soul. And he says, Private Lamy?
Yes, sir.
Because battle is tomorrow does not mean we will not see inspection in the morning. This needs to be in top condition. If we find ourselves lax right now, then we might find ourselves lax on the battlefield tomorrow.
Sir, yes, sir. And I sort of, with my toe, I begin to like push the warhammer to be a little bit straighter where it's leaning against the bed. It's like...
He says, right. He eyes what's going on with your foot in the warhammer. He chooses not to speak. And then he says, I think I saw that you were reading something before I arrived. Anything you'd like to share with the rest of us?
If you say so, sir. Kind of walk around the bed and... Oh, I put it here earlier. Kind of bend down, pick up the book from behind the bed. It's just a war story.
Why don't you roll luck to see how much, as a dwarven commander, maybe he's heard of this book. Maybe he also likes Burok.
He wrote it.
That was my pseudonym.
Unknown
It's about his
author of
father.
Burok Ironheart. Sure. That
Tarkus's father.
is a 2.
So he looks at the book and he says, a war story. He snatches it out of your hands. Do you resist him as he does this?
No.
You just let him get. So he grabs it and he goes, a war story. These are fables. A fictional retelling of a fool who said naught but long statements of courage and will, but never actually demonstrated it. What do we know about Burok? He flips to a random page in it. What's on the random page when he turns to it? Flip.
At dawn's first light pierced the shadowed depths. It revealed Burok and his kin standing tall amidst the remnants of their foes. The halls of Karth-Dur echoed with songs of their bravery, and the tale of Burok Ironheart, the beacon of courage, was etched in the annals of dwarven history.
Yeah, look at this! Slams it shut. Spends more time talking about his legacy than actually building one. nothing in here of tactical brilliance, of courage or valor, of self-sacrifice for others. He then stands, he takes 2 steps closer, and he's now right in your face. You two roughly the same height.
Yeah.
He's taller than you by about 6 inches, but that's not a lot in the context
Dang, he's
of
5
this
foot
army.
tall dwarf.
Yeah, he is. He's a tall dwarf.
I think he's half.
He looks at you like in the eyes and says, "Tell you what." He shoves it back in your chest. "By the end of tomorrow, I want you to rewrite this story. But instead of one hero making a name for himself and then screaming it loud, I want you to write the story of how this battalion was able to overcome the forces of King Aderon. Do you hear me?"
Sir, yes, sir.
Why don't you give me a persuasion check? Just see how well you're able to build rapport after this weird incident.
7.
His eyes narrow as he looks disappointed. And then he leans even closer until you're roughly 10 inches apart, and you can smell his, like, kind of dry and not... Well, let's roll for it. His fine and dry breath as the heat sort of melts over your face. He goes, "You better. At the very least, you could leave that book on the battlefield so it can burn while we fight. Good day, Private." And he turns without waiting for you to respond.
I kind of look down at the book again, and I look at another section. Birok with forged fire ablaze carved a path through the encroaching darkness. His every strike a declaration of defiance against the fear that sought to engulf them. Kind of that sentence, close the book, and then sort of put it down on the foot of the bed, and I go and grab my warhammer and kind of polish it a little bit, and then I go to bed.
Yeah. What are you feeling after this? Did he resolve? Do you still really believe in Birok, or like, how are you feeling at this moment?
Challenged to muster true courage, but not afraid.
It's true courage.
Not afraid.
Well, while Lami is asleep, why don't you give me wisdom? You are going to see something.
All right, that's pretty good. That's going to be a 20.
A 20. So, you are not able to, at least in the current moment, tell exactly why this memory comes to you, or why this vision comes to you. But what you see in your sleep as you are trying to steady your mind, visualize what true courage is, that vision of Birok perhaps stepping in, maybe as a placeholder, maybe as an inspiration or a role model, or maybe as an Aesop's fable for which you are not really supposed to tether your life's worth to. As you wrestle that in your mind, you see this. You see a tanner's workshop. There is a large stretch of like a pelt or hide that's stretched out, and there is a master who seems to know everything about the craft, is dutifully applying oils and stretching the work and treating it to the extent that they need. And under them is a 12-year-old apprentice, clearly early in their trade, as they're desperately trying to follow the master's orders. And every time they slip up, they grab the wrong supplement, they pull it too taut, or they're not applying enough force. Every time, the crack of like a wooden leather paddle with leather on it against the ground, and sometimes against the backside of this apprentice, as this master is clearly saying, "You good for nothing! You think that you're gonna overtake me? No, again! Again! You're worthless. How dare you? Down! Get up! Come over here! Do this!" So you'll hear a series of these statements, and every time this whip cracking sound happens as leather strikes, whether it's the wooden countertop or perhaps the poor child themselves, your perspective shifts. You jump from one side of the workshop to another, seeing closer away, and then every time it cracks, you move a little bit further away, stepping a close up to maybe a wide angle inside of the shop to immediately outside the shop through the windows where you can barely hear what's being said, and then more, you're now on the opposite side of the street in some forgotten fantasy city, and then you're just on the outskirts of town still hearing that sound, and then the total vision of what's occurring to you is now completely out of sight. You, so desperate to try to solve this problem, can't seem to even recall who or what is being said behind those walls. And as this happens, you awake. Just like the others, a cold sweat, trying to make sense of such a vivid dream. But there's nothing to be done about it, because you're preparing for a long fight ahead. Let's take ourselves over in the encampment with the final two members of our party and see who else is up. That is going to be Michael. Michael, why don't you describe your character, what they look like, and what they're doing right now as they get ready for bed?
Hi, Lear Kaelson is winding down the night. He's with a particular facet of the Ruby Army. That is the Artificer Auxiliary Corps. So there's a lot of small little homunculi running around accomplishing various tasks. Lear's own, in this particular instance, just a small bird that's just sort of putting away odds and ends and time, evening sort of round throughs, and Lear himself sort of appreciating really just a small medal he has for valor. There was one instance when he was still in the academy where he was apprenticing under someone near the Topaz front, and there was a particularly vicious tribesman attack, and Lear not only survived but helped a little in the counterattack, and so he's just sort of admiring the medal and is remembering what he's fighting for, which is, of course, the glory of the Ruby Empire. And he sort of tucks it away in his jacket pocket, and returns his homunculus to him once he sees that everything is sort of about where it needs to be, or at least as big as everything that the homunculus can feasibly do, and just sort of resumes putting away his rapier, filling up his rope of climbing that he sort of infused himself, and is just winding down and is about to tuck himself into bed.
Yeah. As you're preparing yourself for bed, and I guess, what do you do with the homunculi as you're preparing to sleep? Snap of the finger, just dismiss them. Yeah, so you're preparing to rest, and then you notice that there is an elven colleague of yours that also works on artificing and engineering for the Army Corps. This is, I guess, the fastest way I'd describe this is like a hot task, where when the military has very specific needs that come up, largely as a result of the mages and metal on the Amethyst Kingdom side, you're trying to identify countermeasures to those things. It's a bit of a back and forth. You are very new to the craft. This person who's walking up to you, an elven colleague whom we will name Syndra, has a little bit more experience than you, but you're still in the same battalion. You're still reporting to the same general. He notices that you're looking at this medallion in front of you, and he is also, once again, preparing for rest. That's what everyone is doing at this point in time. I don't know if I've seen you with that before.
Oh.
What is that exactly?
Yeah, so back in the academy, I was apprenticing under one of the masters on the Topaz front, and there was a Topaz attack on our camp, and I helped push him back with, and he'll sort of gesture to his rapier, which is not on the person, but instinctively be like, where is it? Oh, it's on the wall. And he'll look, and my rapier and a few of my comrades, and it was just a raiding party, but they saw fit to award me with this. I was able to sneak up on a couple of the tribesmen, get some revenge for our losses.
You notice that Syndra eyes you with a bit of curiosity. I'm going to roll for his countenance as well. We're going to see how he's feeling. He goes, "Are you nervous about our little project tomorrow and how that's going to play out? I hear that the Empress herself might actually be taking note."
If the Empress herself I welcome her. If anything, it inspires me to work even harder to make sure that nothing goes awry.
So the two of you would know, although this, for very intentional reasons, only disclosed with the Supreme Generals, your Artificing Corps of about 10 workers, and then the Empress herself, is that you are preparing for what you believe is going to be a kind of mass teleportation defensive measure, an extremely powerful abjuration spell that the enemy forces are going to placing, assuming your assault will be on the city of Carapace itself. This is an extremely powerful spell that can take large swaths of units and send them an almost indiscriminate distance away from the location. And if mages are in charge of creating the circle, it could actually just banish many of you instantly. And that obviously would turn the fight against you. So what you've sought to develop as a group is type of magic detecting device that will allow you to know where the barriers of this presumed teleportation circle begin so that you can tactfully navigate around it. You have scout units, these I mentioned Komodo dragon-like units earlier. They have this really powerful cloaking ability that will allow them move as a vanguard before your troops, try to scout out what the barriers of these are, and then signal that to the remaining forces so that you can navigate your forces correctly. They are desperately relying on you and your work to actually make this device work. Now, I say you, it's 10 people working together. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to roll as half of the group, you're going to roll as the half of the group with your own stats. So we're just going to take the average between those two, and we're going to, I'm going to say it this way, there are 3 states of success here. A very low state is a failure, it doesn't work, and you don't know. A middle state is failure, and you're pretty sure of that, so you report it back to the generals. And of course, the success state is you're pretty confident it'll work. So I won't tell you what the DC is. Actually, no, I will tell you what the DC is. So you're going to roll, I like investigate because it's representative of like tinkering, efficiency modifier as an artificer. And I'm going to be rolling with Syndra, and we're going to take those two things together. We'll say that we're going to roll twice together, so 4 total dice being rolled. And we're trying to see first the 2 failures or maybe a mixture of the 2. Make sense?
Sounds.
Let's do it. You and me. What'd you get?
I got a 16.
Okay.
First roll.
Syndra got a 22. Okay. So off the bat, that is one hard success. So worst, you're looking at a middle ground, or you might look at an outright success. Let's see how we do. Number 2.
That is a 10.
Syndra got a 9. So interesting, because what this means, I now actually have to take those rolls into consideration to see if it really works. Oopsie doops.
No,
I jostled my audio file. We'll have that back shortly. So, might be faster than I thought. Great. There we go. So, at this point, I need you to roll an investigate check to see if, as this is representative of your weeks of work before the battle, if your understanding of where the device is actually representative of what the device can or can't do. Failing here might give you very poor information.
That is a 16.
16, okay. Now I have to adjust this based on the rolls that you just did, so let me do a little bit of quick math. Whew, okay. So, you are uneasy, but if your life was on the line, you bet that the device does work. You think you are relatively confident that it will work as intended, even when considering these powerful abjuration spells that the Amethyst King has provided. So, you and the rest of your colleagues have officially recommended the device to the generals. They have taken your trust in stride. They've tried to test it, but none of your army's mages have the capacity to cast this spell. So it is more of an untested thing that you had to prepare in just weeks in preparation for this assault. Syndra looks at you, and he's about as uneasy as I think you are at this moment. He shuffles, and his shoulders sort of roll back as he rubs his neck. He says, what do you think they're going to do to us if it doesn't work?
I don't think they'll do anything to us. It'll probably be a little graybeard over there that they take anything out on. We're new.
That's really interesting. So Graybeard over here is asleep, just in his bed, and you, Syndra, sort of chuckles a little bit and says, "Oh, yeah. Look, thank you. I know that it's been a lot to take on this project, and I think a lot of people stepped into the ranks immediately out of the academy like you did, and they weren't as willing to step forward on projects like this.
Yeah.
I think that putting your name on something so experimental is risky, and a lot of privates just try to keep their heads down around here. But I was very grateful for your help on this project."
Well, my mother told me my one green eye is a little lucky, so blessed by Tempest himself is what she said to me before she passed. So I like to think I bring a little luck to these sort of things, but only Tempest will tell.
Smiles while thinking to himself, and he looks back at you and says, "Between you and me, I will not reject luck if it's there. I don't have the closest relationship with Tempest myself, but as a bit of a professional tip for you, if you want to rise in the Artificer, maybe don't, in front of the Supreme Generals, ever speak of luck factoring into."
Not. My
And
uncle made sure that I never use the L word on the general.
And then he leans forward and says, "But between you and me, good luck tomorrow."
You as well. Tempest be with you.
And with you. He turns around and prepares for bed. And as you get ready, as gets ready to sleep, why don't you give me a wisdom saving throw?
Give me a... Hey! Alright, that is a 3.
So, in your sleep, restless as you're nervous about whether this device will actually work, which you have some confidence will, but we are not certain will, you see the figure of a humanoid. I won't even tell you what race it is. You don't know what kind of creature this is. Again, sort of silhouetted like we've seen with some of the other dreams. And you see that they're walking, but to your perspective, it's like they're walking on a treadmill. They're not moving anywhere. Steps go, a background rapidly progresses behind them like you're watching an animatronic stage show. Stage hands are walking props and trees and other things behind him. So he walks in place relative to you like a shadow puppet theater. But then you see a shadowed silhouette strung across the background, and this, again, silhouetted figure steps and his foot gets stuck. And his mouth opens, but you hear nothing. He starts to pull on his leg, but unfortunately, as he braces to pull his leg out from this really strong web stick, his other leg gets stuck as well. And now he's fully stuck in place, and you see, as though it were covering the camera or covering the projector, the image of a spider that must be 30 times crawling down the web as it begins to wind its web-like fluid around his body again and again, wrapping him with its 8 legs. And then, right before you would presume it would go for the gruesome, paralyzing kill, you wake up.
Well, I hope no one chooses spider form for their homunculus today.
Awesome. Which takes us, of course, to our final player character.
Wait,
as we move
What's a
over.
homunculus?
Oh, it's just like a mini, like, machine thing.
Okay.
Creature. Also, for the audience, Lear is a half-elf, heterochrome, dirty blonde elf of average height.
Ah, perfect. Yes, thank you. I forget to ask, and it is really helpful to see these, but you'll see portraits of these characters on the Notion shortly after this session airs, so, which will be very fun. Let's take us to our final player character. The night continues to go on, this restless feeling in the air amongst all these tents. Wes, why don't you introduce your character? Tell us what you're doing, what you look like.
All right. My character is belovedly named Grain Dread. Not bread, but dread. For he inspires dread in all who see him. No. As he is leaving, I guess, the ceremony that we just had, the big oorah speech, no one is more excited about getting into tomorrow's activities of warfare than Rai himself. He is very good, close friends with some of his like squad mates that he's been rocking it with and fighting with these past few years. He is known to them by always going into battle with a headband that he got special permission to wear. Because he dons no armor. Because he can't, because he's a sorcerer. Sad day. And on this banner in gold lettering that he sometimes uses some of his magic to shine brighter than just standard gold.
Oh, yeah.
It says on it, it says the ruby sun shines over all the earth. And
I read that.
yeah, well,
Nice.
it is something that he thinks of as the battle cry of the Ruby Empire as they go forth to spread the wonders and the truth that the Ruby Empire is that no one else is able to see, for they are not illumined by true light. As he is coming back into his base, he spends most of his time going to all the different people he knows and giving them words of encouragement. He goes particularly to anyone that he sees that he's fought with before that is looking nervous. He'll tell them things such as he'll, in almost like a religious ceremony, say, I grant you truth of the ruby, I'll grant you peace within the ruby, and just so you know for tomorrow's battle, if you're ever in despair, know that I will get you home safe.
Yeah, let's take a look at one of those. So you're kind of looking for, in a slightly distinct way to what General Tarkus was doing in his own tent. You're just looking for people who maybe aren't getting ready for that full night's rest, and I think you're trying to instill confidence or maybe at least peace.
To inspire.
Yeah, to inspire them. Let's just see. First of all, let's just see what the general feeling of the tent is. Why don't you just roll raw luck for me? Just a d20. 11. So I guess it is about what you would expect before a fight like this. Most people are dutifully following orders to your perception. Others are a little nervous. You can tell that there are people that are your age that are getting ready for what might be their first real fight against the enemy. And that is definitely disconcerting. At this point, it's worth mentioning something that is central to all 5 of your characters. Your memories in the Ruby Empire only go back as far as when they effectively adopted you after you were found at the site of a slaughter, a routing of homeland. And when you were brought into the Ruby Empire, they clothed you, they fed you, they educated you, and they gave you jobs. They trained you in the military so that you could in turn provide that same life for other people that are being oppressed King Aderon, or that are being manipulated by the Emerald Egalitary, or that are being endlessly killed and resurrected by the Black Jade Lords. These are terrible civilizations that you have the right, no, responsibility to go and free. And only the Empress herself has the truest solution for all of these people. You're certain of this. But your group of 5, along with roughly 40 other young people, were brought in under this essentially orphanage-style adoptive training course. And you lived and breathed the Empire. All 5 of you, tirelessly within your own craft and skills to master your own trades that would contribute to the war effort. You, for those things, were given accolades, and just this year, a few months ago during the summer, finally graduated from the training corps and could join the front lines, which all coming of age ages do. I could say something like the parallel in in Israel of 18, you always serve 2 years in the military or whatever, but the reality is in D&D fantasy races, you come of age at very different ages, depending on which race you are. So we'll just say that the Empire has a very regimented, orderly system where all citizens, when they come of age, respective to their fantasy race, do enter the military and serve that amount of time. Once again, proportional to your lifespan, which is which really is a part of this sort of egalitarian structure that the Empress herself put in place when she came to power. You are now at the very beginning of that required citizen service, and all of you are preparing for your first battle. Another one of your colleagues who was part of that sort of graduating class, so to speak, is named Vinwar. Vinwar is a human. He's got short black hair. He's got slightly darker, like a sort of an olive toned skin, and he is relatively gaunt. fairly skinny, doesn't seem to have put on much muscle despite the physical requirement in order to graduate. And he is sort of shuddering in place. He seems to be looking with a 1,000-yard stare, seated in a chair next to his bedroll as he is rocking back and forth, whispering something under his breath. Do you see this happening?
Yeah.
Don't need to roll insight. He's clearly nervous about something. Do you wait around and see what he's whispering, or do you want to just like go up and talk to him?
I'll go up and talk to him.
Okay, so you see Vinoir is rocking in place. And you come closer, and you still can't really make out what he's saying, but I'm gonna say, actually, let's see how he's feeling. The sight of you walking up, it sort of shakes him, and he looks at you and he says, Private Rye, hello. Are you ready for the fight tomorrow?
I'm as ready as I can be.
He looks at you a little more closely, and he notices that you seem self-assured. I mean, I would say you're not nervous at all. And he stutters a little bit more, but looks at you more closely and says, how do you do it, Rye? I mean, Private Rye, what do you do to keep yourself? I mean, have you seen their forces? I don't know if I'm going to be able to prove myself. And he's sort of muttering over more statements like this.
Vinoir?
Vinoir, yeah.
Vinoir. It's hard to say. Vinoir. Vinoir, my lad. Do you believe that our cause is just?
Why don't you roll luck for me? We'll see how
12?
12? You notice that Vinoir sort of pauses and goes, yes, I do. I remember reading the texts of lands that we've been able to free and the economic prosperity of cities that we took over, like Belavda. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm sure of it.
And if you're certain in your convictions that you're supposed to be here. Sorry, it's so cute.
You notice
My
that
heart-
the pitch of his wailing seems to increase as though he's regressing to an early state in life. You hear him begin to cry internally and whine more outwardly.
You gotta calm this guy.
Yeah, I do have to calm this guy down. I said, well, if you believe that our cause is just, then you have nothing to fear, for no matter what the outcome for you individually tomorrow, you know that you'll be on the right side of history. And that our great Empress will not lead us into battle for something that is not assured.
You really think that?
I certainly do. Is there anything more just and great that we ourselves could be a part of? We are the lucky ones. For after all of this is said and done, we will be able to look over all of Crystallis, and we will be able to say that it all started here, and that you and I played an important role in it, and we will be justly rewarded for our sacrifice.
Ryan, say you, and you like lock eyes with him. He stops rocking for the first time, and he's like staring into you, almost too afraid to look away with the intensity of your gaze. And that was truly a great pep talk. Why don't you roll persuade with advantage?
That's just roll
Well,
twice.
twice, take the higher.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Persuade. 21.
21. All right. So
Jeez.
Vinoir rocks. Like I said, he's locked eyes with you. You finish your final statement, and he breathes a sigh, like his shoulders loosen and lower as he goes. I can see it. I can see what will happen when this is over. Maybe we won't win this particular fight, but King Adder's forces, they're pawns. He subjugates them. We are the lucky ones. Like you said, eventually the fight will be for those who truly believe in this. And that's going to be us. I'm going to roll. He seems much more rejuvenated. His breathing is clearly steady. He considers whether or not he wants to like make any form of intimate gesture towards you, like a hug or a high five, and then he sort of locks in place. He like turns and looks that maybe else might be, and then he just sort of says, "Okay, well, good night, and I'll see you on the field tomorrow."
I'll see you on the field tomorrow, and I'll gesture to I'm not wearing the headband, but I always have it on with me, and I'll say, "I'll see you tomorrow, and if you feel you're falling into despair, just remember that the ruby sun shines over all the earth."
He looks at the lettering on your band as you're holding it, and he says, "Yes, thank you." Salutes back, and then goes to bed. And while you are asleep, why don't you roll me a wisdom save?
17.
Got it. You, in your dream, you see a vision. You see as there is a cobblestone street just of you, like you're looking directly down at it, and it falls away underneath you, stone by stone crumbling as you see an infinite black abyss underneath it. Then your view pans in your dream. You see that the cobblestone, as it crumbles, gives way to buildings around it. Now, walls and foundations of stone or thatch or stick begin to fall down in their midst. Dust and this incredibly loud noise all around. And then you see at the center of town a fountain. The stone fountain has this beautiful bronze statue in it. An old one, but an ornate and a very well crafted statue. It's a statue of what looks like a leader. They have both a sword, quill in either hand, a shield on their back. They have a hat that you would probably quickly peg as like a captain or commander. And this statue comes to life. It moves its arms as it slowly steps forward down off the pedestal into the waters of the fountain, and the stone begins to crumble up around the fountain. You would expect, like all the other buildings, that the buildings would fall into the abyss and that the fountain would follow suit. But it goes right up to the edge of the fountain, stones crumbling around it. And the statue looks downward and around, now completely isolated on an island in the middle of an infinite black void. And it looks directly at you. With a 17, you see as it holds a sword up and it drops it into the abyss. And it takes the quill in its other hand and puts it into its dominant hand, gesturing to you to show pretty obviously that this quill means more to it than the sword that it just gave to the void. And then, to your shock, this statue simply steps up onto the edge of the fountain, and then holding the quill in hand and making eye contact with you, leans forward until it falls into the infinite black void, sailing downward. Your view of it never leaves you as you watch the other stones crumbling around it. And then you wake up in your bed, still some cold sweats, and all of you instantly, I say you wouldn't know this unless one of you screams the moment you wake up, but all 5 of you wake at the exact same time. Boom! Actually, let's do that. Let's simulate that. 3, 2, 1. And right around that time, as if your body clocks, which were very well tuned to the cycle of being in the military, you woke up just seconds before your alarm clock, the trilling of 10 trumpets. And all rise as you instinctively go through your motions, preparing yourself for the 5:30 a.m. inspection as you prepare for the next day's grand march and assault on the city. All of you stand. You gather together in your formations. Lear with your artificing core, preparing to see how this device plays out. Jabatha, you and Celine join together with your melee swords, preparing to be privates on the front lines, knowing how much your lives are at stake. We go to Lummy as you prepare yourself.
Gonna ask.
As you prepare yourself, you are given access to one of the horses that you have ridden with for a while. It is worth noting that these are not real horses. You see, as you prepare yourself for combat, that they say, your commander, General Tarkus, says, "All right, we think it's time that you are all ready for access to something that will be faster, more fluid, and powerful than anything that you'll expect to find in your old round of study. Thankfully, we practiced with this, so good luck. And he hands you a ruby. You know what this ruby will do. It will conjure...
Since I'm role-playing more.
It will conjure... So, Lami, you take this ruby. You knew this was going to happen. This is not a surprise to you. This is a ruby that will conjure you Phantom Steed and will give you the ability to quickly ride in and out of combat. But it is up to your discretion. It works exactly as the spell entails. You would cast it before battle, so this will happen in just a moment.
So, but one question about this battle.
Yep.
Is this... It sounds almost like a naval battle.
Yep.
Is it a pitch battle? Like, are we in a... What should I? Is it stupid to think that I would have a horse? Like nobody charges cavalry on a boat.
It is not stupid. You would know in advance that the plans for this battle involve ferrying as many troops as possible to flanking positions on the outskirts of the city, and then both attacking from the waters and using your cavalry units on outskirts of the other side of the city.
Okay, so assuming
it's a dual front.
It's a beach landing.
Beach landing, yes.
Got it.
We have control of the water.
Horses could be useful then.
Yes.
I was worried. It's like, maybe I don't need a horse anyway. It's like, I'm going to be on a boat.
Yep. And speaking of, Napine, as you wake up, you find yourself attending one of the ferry boats that is going to take your troops across the water. Your captain there, Captain Aaliyah, salutes you softly, and we did not get the chance to show her earlier. Let's put her on screen so you can get a little look at your Captain Napine. This is her, Captain Aaliyah.
So Aaliyah with a Y or an I?
ALIA, Captain Aaliyah salutes you all as you get on board. There's roughly 7 dedicated ferrymen to each of these large that are going to be responsible for carrying over all these creatures. It is always advantageous for your assaults that many of the actual creatures that the most powerful vanguard assault troops use, like those manticores and those Komodo dragon creatures, are themselves conjurations, allowing for you to, for lack of a better phrase, pack in like sardines on these ships. You are one of the people responsible for actually tending to the ship. Captain Aaliyah salutes you as you step on board. And yes, he says, Napine, Pillow, good to see you both. Do you respond as she says that?
No, I just kind of get to my work.
from goes Napine straight to your station, and she, one by one, acknowledges each of the 7 ferrymen that contributes to her particular vessel. She's nobody that important. She's one of the 6 ferry captains responsible for your naval escort. But
Actually, notably,
yes,
so I went home. Pillow went over and like I wagged his tail and like went and said hi.
Okay, good. What does Aaliyah think of Napine? I'd say very slightly favors Pillow. So she says, that's a good girl.
Sorry.
Welcome back to the ship. I hope that nobody gets steady as she goes along the way. It's possible that we'll be experiencing some artificially created turbulence, and we need to make sure that we're prepared for anything. She then salutes you, the rest of the groups, and is prepared to load everyone else now that you seem to have everything in. Why don't you roll me a survival with a proficiency modifier, because this is your ship.
That's a 6.
6 total? Oh no.
Pretty good for a ranger.
Pillow's excitedly dashing around the ship and seems to be distracting some of the other units that are, let's see how they feel about it, that are a little annoyed as they were trying to either hoist the mainsail or, swab the poop deck. No, to essentially prepare all of the vehicle components.
Yeah, these are sailing ships or rowing ships?
These are sailing ships.
Okay.
And so as
normal sailing, not like magic sailing?
is
like just wind
mostly not.
Mostly wind powered.
Mostly wind powered traditional sailing vessels. Good question.
It's fancy. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Could be like crystal powered or whatever.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, absolutely. We've established that in certain contexts. So, she looks at you and she says, Private Napine, please do me a favor. If you could please withhold Pillow for just the next few moments as we're getting the ship ready to go.
And I kind of nod to Pillow and wave him over. And Pillow, tail wagging very joyously.
Yeah. You can infer from your relationship with Aaliyah, Captain Aaliyah, over the last few months, as you've just now entered her working with these troops. She is definitely on the very high end of emotional empathy and sensitivity among the captains. She seems to genuinely care, and even has said to you in private that Pillow is a good addition to the group because so many people are so self-serious that they don't think about the value of having something to fight for outside the context of the military troops. That if, say, you were to break rank, what would you fight for then? And to know that you demonstrate in your actions an intimacy with Pillow and a willingness to share her with everyone else is something that she says is valuable to the group. She will never say that in front of anybody else, though. But you know this about her. This is a conversation you've had. So all of you are preparing for battle, and
With that knowledge, I give
Yes.
her a very, very small smile.
a very small, just a very slow turtle smile crawls across Napine's face. And all of you gather together with your troops, and one last time you see Princess Felgradia at the helm of everyone preparing to dock, to board these vessels. So the vessel's at the ready. She uses her loud, booming voice for everyone, and I've decided, for the sake of this image, to show what I would imagine a close-up of Empress Belgradia would look like. This is all approximate. I might update these later, but you see this intensity
Holy crap,
in her
nails.
eyes. Yeah, I kind of like these, but I'm probably going to change them. So you see an intensity in her eyes unlike anything you've ever seen before. I'm going to roll really quick insight for the whole table because, I rolled a 1. Because generally speaking, this is the first time that you have ever been in true combat. Yes, she gave an inspiring speech yesterday. She's about to do something of the sort right now. But what is going on behind those eyes? I will tell you, I rolled you a 1 collectively because some people aren't able to quickly roll for the sake of this check. But the reality is, as she's preparing, you sense that she is excited. This is something that she has been looking forward to for a long time. An opportunity that only comes every once in a while and that she is going to seize no matter what. Carve reality is something that you hear her saying quite often. And that is something that you are hoping to do today in Carapace. She, at the helm, looks to all of you and says, "My fellow troops of the Ruby Empire, this is your moment. As you step onto these vessels and prepare for the greatest fight of your lives, do not waver and all resolve. The world will shine under the red ruby sun."
Aye, General!
Aye, General!
It's actually funny you say that because you know that at this moment, when she holds a customary salute in the air, which I have not made up until this very moment, trying to stick a little bit away from some Third Reich iconography, she holds one arm into the sky, and at the tip of it you see a figure of a circle, which is that red rising sign. She has intentionally positioned herself so that the sunrise is behind her, over the waters, and she holds her hand in the air as if to grab the sun directly. That light beams down onto all of you, and you notice that her voice triples in its volume. You see as some mages are amplifying her capacity to speak to the rest of you. Here and now, our time comes to shine over the earth. And that's the sign, customarily speaking, for all of you to begin what will be the official oath of the Ruby Empire. As I am handing out to the rest of the table an 8-line oath of the Ruby Empire, it's now time for a pretty fun exercise that I'm not afraid to have y'all roll for.
So is this the official salute?
Yes.
Because we've been doing just saluting, but this is our.
This is the most important salute
Full arm
you can get.
stretch.
Yeah. Straight up.
We walk down the hallway in the barracks.
It's usually if you want to see it visually, I'll describe it to audio listeners. It's open circle from a fist that you tap across your heart and then you hold up to the sky when you're passing each other, generals, troops. It is an honorable exchange because what it represents, very similar to what Rai was describing to Vinwar in the camps last night. It is representative of one day the sun shall shine over all people equally, living in peace under the ordered ruler of Velgradia and the Ruby Empire. One sun for us all. Carve reality.
Do we have to have her on the screen? I do not like her nails.
Fine. The nails are a little much. Here's the more, maybe the more approachable version of her.
How does
So-
this glove fits?
As this salute hails, it is now time to do a very fun roll. All of you have only been you've been training with the army for a few years. You've been in the actual active military for only a few months. Now, based on how you describe your own sensibilities and loyalty to the Empire proper, I want you to tell me, how passionate are you of the Ruby Empire's ultimate vision? On a scale of 1 to 10. Let's just go around the table and kind of tell, or whenever you're ready, tell me generally where you land.
9.5.
It seems that, yeah, it definitely seems that Rai is extremely passionate about it.
Let's go Ruby Empire.
Oh,
yeah.
on a scale of 1 to 10, I thought it was a 1 to 20.
7 seems like a pretty good place for me to pursue, like a valorous martial lifestyle.
Okay, yeah, 7 makes sense.
There's alignment there.
Yeah. Napeen, Lear, Javatha.
About a 4. It's about as passionate as I get.
You do not get passionate for really many things
What
at all.
about fish?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
The die
fish are
have
like a
decreed
9,
that I
other
am
than
an 8, and it is so.
Okay. You really care not just about your own personal
My
stakes
uncle-
with this device. You also care for the Empire's
My
success.
uncle is a forge master. My father died on the Black Jade front. I have reason to care.
Yes, these are important things to keep in mind. If the Empire grows in power, that saves you and others from similar fates to your father, your grandfather. Javatha.
I think I'm like a 6. I'm a team player, and I like my soldiers that I'm working with.
Got it.
And it is a cause that I'm like, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
But I'm not like on fire for it.
Okay, let's play this out. So, at this point, all of you have been trained in the regiments and you have arrived for inspection. We won't do the full inspection rigmarole, but we are going to do this oath. I want all of you to roll history, and if you gave me an 8 or higher, I want you to roll with advantage.
Nice.
Yes.
First nat 20? Oh, no.
I got so history and then performance, or just history?
Just history.
Okay, 21 total.
21?
14.
14.
14.
14.
18.
18.
15.
15.
Wow.
Interesting. So, if you got a 15 or higher,
No!
stay in the room, otherwise leave.
Bye.
We're gonna go get pizza.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Don't be gone for long. We will break for dinner in just a minute.
Well, we're gonna get
He
a
says that's a great.
All right. Okay.
You a pterodactyl.
Those that remain. This is representative of how feverishly you actually pay attention to the way the oath is spoken. I am going to now reveal to you, we're going to get a practice round to repeat back what the oath is in sequence. And then when everyone shows up, we're going to do it for real, in real time, in front of Empress Belgradia and all the general's forces at once. So,
Okay.
if everyone's reading in front, I'm going to say a line, and then you can repeat it back for me.
Okay.
And then we're going to practice that. We're going to do this relatively quickly.
Yep.
So, in the shadow of the dragon, our might shall never wane.
In the shadow of the dragon, our might shall never wane.
With Empress Belgradia's vision, we forge our sovereign chains. The same rhythm.
With Empress Belgradia's vision, we forge our sovereign chain.
Then it changes. Through crimson sands and times demand, our legacy we write.
Through crimson sands and times demand, our legacy we write.
Same rhythm for the second line. For ruby's fire and heart's desire, we march into the fight.
For ruby's fire and heart's desire, we march into the fight.
And it repeats for the second stanza. Understood?
Unity.
I need to change to Empress Belgradia and not the Empress.
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one to get. But you know what? They
don't get it.
the canonical explanation for this is this has been the same for the last like
They
5
just
emperors. They
chunk
just
the
chunk
name
in
in
the
there.
they chunk in the new name. So
Alright, I'm
Belgradia
ready.
is a little long for this particular.
I'm ready.
Let's bring back our non.
This is like from the
Hello!
SpongeBob SquarePants movie.
Come on back.
Every able-bodied patron bar.
Every able-bodied patron of the
So no matter what, we will keep going. They have to just catch up.
Every bubble glowing baby will be beaten.
by every patron of the bar.
Which, by the way, is a hilarious bar mantra.
I don't know what they're.
Imagine just it's your first time in that bar and you like.
Welcome back.
Some of the past.
So, the oath is about to begin as you have done your customary salute. Circle over heart into the sky directly overhead, and as the oath begins, you two don't remember how it goes precisely, and we're all gonna do it at the same time. 1, 2, 3, 4. The shadow of the dragon, our might shall never wane. With the Empress of Guardian's vision, we forge our sovereign chain. Through crimson sands and time's demand, our legacy we write. For ruby's fire and heart's desire, we march into the fight. In unity and honor, our blades shall carve the way. Under the ruby banner, no foe shall dare to sway. With valor in our veins and victory in our sight, for the Empire's glory, we pledge our lives to fight. And then you hear everyone salute with the same motion once more. Then they bring it back to their chest, and there are just normal wanton cheers in the audience. It sounds like this. Hooting and hollering until the moment, as is customary, that she herself lowers her fist last. And the moment she does, it's silence. Let's leave it like that because I think that's fun. So the cheer ends. There's now hooting and hollering. And a calm silence as you prepare for your troops. She says, "Forces, may Tempest be with you. Move out!" And all of you begin to immediately board your vessels. You hear in the distance two very important sounds. The first, you hear that a normally still river bed, fairly deep, at least a mile wide, that does not experience the traditional tides of the oceans, you begin to hear as the storms begin to rise. A normally still and silent watery way. Now, as the waters begin to pick up. And the second noise, I don't think any of you will be able to truly perceive. We'll give you a shot though. Why don't I have two people at the table? This is what I traditionally do. Two people at the table are going to roll perception. Two people are going to roll just perception. This is listening.
Does that have to do with the water?
It does not have to do with the water.
Oh.
All right, I'll roll.
Yep. Two people at once.
Well, yeah, Rachel, right, you roll.
This is representative of the whole party listening to this.
All right. Who else roll?
Me.
You.
3.
I think that Napine rolled. We're looking for Lear to roll here as well.
Sorry. 11.
Cool. 11 and 10. You hear a sound that is, to the best of my human abilities, is something like this. And it's like this warbling, infinitely deep sound begins to shoot out in all directions from Carapace itself. It is of a subsonic and extremely bassy warbling sound, and it will persist the entire time as you board these vessels and make your way across these increasingly stormy waters. The rest of you, huddled in your various encampments, like I mentioned earlier, packed like sardines on these ferrying vessels. We have Lear with his artificing team as Syndra is anxiously looking at the device that you've created as it gets handed off to the commanders in charge. We see that Napine is cautiously guiding the vessels as they move across. That Lami is preparing with his new phantom steed in hand to jump from the vessel and ride into battle. That Shabatha, with your sharpened mace, stand next to Celine with her newly fitted sword, hoping that all of your weapons will stay strong in combat. And Rai, as you stand there, you see a newly empowered Vinoir, anxiously waiting for battle, but with a steady breath and with a firm grip on his weapon. All of you preparing for the battle that comes ahead. But only the forces of Velgradia, if anyone else could, will finally be able to topple King Aderon's iron grip on Carapace in the biggest fight of your lives. That is where we're going to pause for a little bit of food. We will be back, so don't miss what's coming up next on Operation Bloodstone. See you then. Great pause.
It's a good important clarification.
No, we're ready.
That's fine.
I had already begun the process of clicking.
That's fine. I just thought I'd get my music ready.
Brinks.
The gong jamar. Oh, we don't have intro music? That's what we're doing?
Unfortunately, Nathan, two people at this point. It's been a lot of time with you. We know his song.
Oh, it's good. It's good, and
His Nathan dance impersonation is quite good, I have to say. Better than my own.
okay, let's do it.
And this that one.
Question before we get into the thick of things.
Mm-hmm.
So as an artificer, whenever I finish a long rest, I can touch it to two non-magical objects, basically infusing them. Can I infuse my armor to give myself armor of magical strength, which basically just lets me. Hang on. It lets me. Where are my infusions? But basically, it lets me use my intelligence as strength while I'm wearing it.
I would just ask you to read what is written, and then I would.
Let me find that real quick.
You don't know all the spells?
Do I know the Artificer subclass feats? I've not memorized nearly that much information.
Ridiculous. What are you doing?
How silly of you.
I'm
What are you doing?
disappointed.
See,
See, but the
Ruby-
real loss here is that once upon a time, Mitchell had a zillion binders of spell cards.
Yeah. I had all the 5e spell cards, which were super useful, but we gave them away when we moved.
How could you not think of us?
Yep. I didn't know.
Alright, I'm gonna use this time.
Is this armor of magical strength?
Yeah.
Great.
I'm gonna use this time to write our names underneath our characters in the video.
Mitchell,
Rachel?
can I use one of the devices, don't
Yeah.
care which one, to see the ranger spell list? Because I'm confident I'm going to screw this up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't care which device, up to you.
Actually, I might do one better if you want something that's really fast for just the spells.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, you can do it. It all makes sense. It's something you would have made the night before, but you would have had full knowledge of this, so. Cool. Armor of magical strength. You've got it.
Great.
Any other questions before we do the?
Armor of magical strength. I think that's it.
All right. Andy, we're active, right? We're live.
Yeah, we've
Cool.
been recording.
That's fine. For the sake of the recording, I'm happy to trim to here, but I'm all good if
Oh wait,
live
because we're
viewers hear
probably
this.
gonna trim. I have one more question.
Yeah.
Nathan.
Yeah.
Top 5 people that you spend the most time with in your life, not counting your parents.
You want me to answer this now?
No, I think I think 3 of the 5 are in this room, and I think that's funny. That's all.
Nathan and I have known each other
Any-
for 10 years.
Mitchell and I?
This is quite. That's fascinating. That's quite an observation.
Wait, the top 3 or 3 out of the top 5?
People that I enjoy spending time with
No,
have
Period.
spent
Net hours.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Hours.
Well, probably my other
I
than
said
my
not parents,
Oh,
so
okay.
Becca is obviously on the list.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Oh, it probably is Becca.
So
and
3 out of the
Mitchell
top 4?
And Wes.
Sure.
and then you have dibs because
There you go.
Wife.
That's probably right.
Yeah.
That's just the first level spell.
Oh, thanks, man.
I don't know.
Tap on
I'd
it,
have to, like,
review more
really think
info,
about it.
close
That's
it.
so dope.
Well, how long have y'all been friends?
Nathan and I?
Yeah.
Oh,
2007.
yeah.
Jeez Louise.
15 years.
Well, we've got 5 years on us.
Yeah, but like,
I'm not like mentally prepared to
So-
do the breakdown of hours spent when I'm preparing for this
Please
combat.
don't worry about it. It
I
was
don't know,
supposed to be
like
a
Nathan and I
statement, not a
haven't had
question.
nearly as
Cool.
That's all.
Just like just an observation.
So-
Great. Good.
Sorry.
really bump up the
My yes and
That
is
is
being
true.
challenged so severely when I'm like, ready for this combat? Of the top 5 people you've ever spent time with.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
yes, you're right, and please stop.
Yes,
No, just kidding. I love this.
I think
Okay.
that's a yes, no.
yes, but actually no.
But
Okay.
No.
All right.
We're focused.
I will arbitrarily count us in because we are live. So,
Oh, yes.
4, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome back. When we left off, the troops were just mounting their waterborne vehicles, preparing to go directly into combat. I need to recollect myself. Hold on. No, it's not you. I'm just like, I just need
For
to...
the audience at home, this is non-alcoholic. We are not sponsored by Budweiser. Budweiser, please reach out.
Yeah, you want to sponsor this live stream? You can contact us at brandpartnerships at